Hey, everyone. All right, cool. So I am Kieran Flanagan. I am SVP of Agentic Go-to-Market at HubSpot. I know what you're thinking. That's a made-up title. I literally just put it on this slide. It is kind of a made-up role because we're trying to figure out what to call this role. And so let me tell you a little bit about what an Agentic Go-to-Market person does. So we are a group in HubSpot. It's about 250 plus people. It's predominantly product engineering, ops, kind of growth people, practitioners, and data science and machine learning. And we are trying to fundamentally rebuild HubSpot's go-to-market around AI. And that kind of, I would separate that into two things. We have autonomous customer-facing agents, and then we have human acceleration. How do we actually accelerate human productivity and actually drive real outcomes with AI? And I wanted to try something a little different. You've probably had a lot of go-to-market tactics, really cool stuff today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can build a self-learning AI system for go-to-market strategy. Fundamentally, how you change the way that you work, and then how you change the way that your teams work. And so, why should you even care about this presentation? Today, the way most of us work, and teams work, and organizations work, is we have unstructured intelligence. And all of that intelligence lives inside your team's brain, your employee's brain, your brain. And so when they leave, it leaves with them. And we are mostly in reactive mode. We're getting pulled in multiple directions, Slack here, email here, doc here, and we're constantly firefighting. And then once you are starting to manage large teams, I've managed teams of 500 people all the way down to 10 people and built them back up, you predominantly are doing a lot of people management, and you might like that. I don't necessarily like that. And it's a lot of comms, it's a lot of communication tax, all this kind of stuff that's not actually that much fun. So this presentation is to build a system that gives you structured intelligence, right? It lives inside the system I'm going to show you how to build. It helps you to be more proactive, focus on the things that matter, and then it helps you to manage problems, not people. Now, if you enjoy managing people, I don't mind managing people. I prefer managing problems. This system is for you. Now, if you want to build a system, all you have to do is get the deck, get the transcript of the event, and tell Claude Code to build the exact same thing, and it will probably be able to do it. So you can have the exact same system. I wanted to take a step back, right? My career arc has kind of been engineer to marketer to growth practitioner to revenue leader to marketer, now kind of into full-time AI over the past 2 years. And where are we in this kind of crazy AI journey? Well, I think we are starting to realize that AI forces us to rebuild everything we do around AI, not to integrate it into what we are already doing. And this has happened once before. Externally, we're hearing a lot of, wow, there's a lot of AI, there's not a lot of outcomes. And back in 1885, electricity came to the factory floors. It was the first time electricity came to the factory floors. And I know what you're thinking, wow, riveting, a story about electricity in factories. But when electricity came to the factory floor, at that time, the whole floor was structured around one power point. It was a steam engine. And all the machines had to be within a certain distance to get the power from the steam engine. When electricity came to the factory floors, all they really did was change the steam engine for an electric motor and change nothing else. And for 25 years, nothing happened. There was some productivity, there was no real business outcomes. In fact, only 5% of factories reported any meaningful upside. And economists at the time called it the productivity paradox. Where the hell is all of these amazing outcomes? Sounds very similar to AI today. Well, it wasn't until they realized they could rebuild the factory floor around electricity, because electricity could be plugged in anywhere within that floor, that they started to see real outcomes. And those outcomes started to compound year after year. So they rebuilt the floor, they created new workflows, they created new roles. That's kind of where we are with AI today. This OS I'm going to show you has fundamentally changed the way I work. I cannot explain how different I work today than when I did about 6-7 months ago, and I actually think it's going to fundamentally change the way teams work. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something I call my GTM brain, my go-to-market brain. And this system, the first thing you have to do, and the first thing I had to do, was seed intelligence. So when I took over this new org about 6 weeks ago, the first thing I wanted to do was really build an intelligence layer for all of the work we had to do. Now, our customer are really all of the go-to-market teams within HubSpot. It's about 4,000 plus people. And all of the people that they serve, which is about 300,000 plus customers, and then hundreds and hundreds of thousands of prospects that come in each and every month. And so the first thing I wanted to do was seed intelligence. To be a great leader, you really need to know where you are. And there's a great story about this from the US Navy. Every US Navy carrier has a crew of thousands of people. And those crew rotate on and off pretty regularly. And one of the big issues they had was every time a crew would rotate off and a new crew would rotate on, all of the intelligence context, all of the learnings about what they had learned during that mission disappeared. And every crew had to start all over again. And it was a big problem for them. And they created this thing called the lessons learned. And the lessons learned was a large system, a document that was attached to every carrier that documented all of the intelligence from the last crew, their experiences, what they learned, what worked, what didn't work. And so every crew that would rotate back on would actually learn from that systems or that lessons learned system. That's kind of what this system does. It's that go-to-market brain is your lessons learned system. It has all of the intelligence built within it. And so the first thing I did when I took over this 6 weeks ago was not do a bunch of like memo read-in or a bunch of give me all of your docs and I'll consume them all or a bunch of one-on-one meetings. I tried to build an intelligence layer for this system. So what I created was a template. And this template had everything I wanted to know about every AI go-to-market initiative that was happening across HubSpot. Now, for you all, it might be your outbound strategy, your SEO strategy, your paid advertising strategy. And it's broken into what are your goals? What is the mission? What's working? What's not working? Give me access to all of your previous experiments. What is your trailing 6-month performance? All of the intelligence that I need to know about each of these initiatives. And so I created that template. Now, when you take on a new team, if you walk in and say, the first thing I want you to do is create me a bunch of documentation, they are going to hate you. They're going to think you suck. And so what I did was we built a Glean agent. So Glean is an internal system or a tool that we have that has access to all of our systems, all of our data platforms, all of our communication channels, Slack, email, all of those good things. And you can build agents. And so we built a Glean agent to go and access all of that information and build a first draft for each team member. It would notify the team member when that was built, and it would say, can you actually tell us what's wrong, what's right, and re-enrich this? It got some things wrong, I will not lie, but it got a lot of things right and really shortened that time to get an artifact for each of these things. We overlaid that with live calls. We were trying to figure out what was working, what wasn't with a bunch of internal teams and a bunch of customers. And then we actually did another thing where we allowed everyone to be interviewed async. So we sent them an interview script, and they would record themselves being interviewed and send us the Loom. And then we had a script that would ingest all of the Loom transcripts and overlay that or enrich that all in this initial intelligence layer. And so what we built was this, which doesn't seem like cool. Like local file systems are cool again. Who would have thought that would happen? So this is a concept kind of made famous by Andrej Karpathy. People have probably heard about this. It's built in Obsidian. Obsidian is a local file system, but you can actually sync that local file systems across laptops. And it's a wiki for your AI agents and assistants. And so the first thing I did was seed all of that intelligence into this quote-unquote vault. And it has a couple of interesting things. So in that project folder, it has every single go-to-market initiative within HubSpot that touches AI. And it has a single file for each of those initiatives. Within the wiki folder, this is a harder concept to explain. I'm going to show you how this works in the next section. This is where it's gathering all of the intelligence. So it's gathering all of the learnings each and every day you use the system, and it's documented in this wiki so you don't lose any of that context. I like to work in certain frameworks, first principles, all these different ways of working, so I store them in my frameworks folder. The daily logs, I'm going to show you what that is. Raw is super cool. It's a staging folder. And so what I have is a raw folder, and anytime someone sends me a doc, anytime someone sends me a Loom, anytime someone sends me a Zoom, whatever it may be, it goes in the staging folder, and I'm going to re-enrich the vault with that information. I can do all of my comms out of here, and then I have the Claude.md file. So Claude.md is a way that you can make sure the system is structured to work how you want to work. Your principles, your goals, and every time I work within the system, it preloads the Claude.md so it works how I want to work. So this is an example, right? When I built the initial intelligence vault for this system, it pulled out this AI SDR strategy. So we have a sales agent. That sales agent is on our website, in our freemium app. It manages about 80% of all of our chats at the moment. It is able to help you purchase our starter product. It's able to book time with reps and creates a lot of pipeline for sales reps. But there's a lot of other teams working on concepts that are similar to this. And so it pulled out that there was a team way, way in the pocket of HubSpot that had trialed a third-party agent. And that third-party agent was able to do live demos. And so you could talk to the agent, and then that agent was trained to actually show you how HubSpot worked. And there was an interest in learning in that. 64% of all chatters asked for the live demo, and when someone did the live demo, it equated to 3x conversion rate. Pretty interesting. And so it pulled it into this one artifact about AI SDR and said, this is a feature you should build. The other thing is, because it had access to all of our chat logs, it could see that on some high-intent pages, customers or prospects were suffering from sticker shock. They would say, wow, this is a really expensive product. It's not really what we want. But of course, there's some negotiation there. There's some discounting there. But the agent isn't capable of doing that. And so they would just fall off. So discounting would be a great feature to build. Help the agent figure out your intent and then interject with a discount when it knows the pricing isn't where you exactly want to be. These are two features we are now building because of this initial intelligence vault we built. This is what Bill Belichick said. He's the former coach of the New England Patriots, is that don't treat playbooks as fixed. They are evolving all of the time. And that is go-to-market strategy today, but it's evolving in interesting ways. It's evolving in how your customers speak to your sales team, and that's in your sales transcripts. It's evolving in how they talk to you on your website. That's in your chat transcripts. It's evolving in your Slack messages, in Google Docs, in experiment results, in email threads, in meetings. All of these different ways your go-to-market is evolving, and this system helps to capture all of those and re-enrich the vault to make sure you don't lose an ounce of it. Now, the coolest thing is when I talk to people about how they use AI, it's pretty unstructured. It's like I take a couple of docs, I go into Claude, I work with those docs, I go into Codex, ChatGPT, I work with those docs. This is really the first time that I feel like I'm working in a very structured way. I work in this system each and every day, hours and hours at a time, but as a side effect, the vault and the system is getting smarter. And so Charles Munger said, you want to go to bed smarter than when you wake up, but that's really hard to do. You learn something, you apply it, you forget it. We're trying to move really, really fast. And the advantage of this system is it remembers that intelligence and makes sure that it's getting smarter because of that intelligence. So this is my daily rhythm. This is literally how I spend my day. I still do talk to humans. I don't just talk to AI, but I have a command. These are all skills within this system. So I have a today skill, and the today skill is basically prioritizing everything I should work on. And because it has access to all of that intelligence, it really knows what are the important things. I can give you a little bit about that in the next slide. Brief, anytime I have a meeting with anyone, it's able to create an incredible brief because I know everything about their team, mission, goals, performance, and it's able to tell me what are the things I should actually spend my time talking to them about. Anytime I have a new priority comes up during the day, I can add that via that command. Shutdown, I'm going to talk about in another slide. Ingest is how I continually re-enrich the vault, make it much smarter. And Bullpen is something I'm going to show you in another slide. So this is what I usually start my morning with. I run today, and it's structured for how I want to work. It will show me what are core blockers across all of the teams that I manage and all of the teams I serve. It will show me what teams are trending below the outcomes and goals that they have. It will tell me what my executive team want from me, and I still haven't given them. And then it will show me bullpens. And bullpens are one of my favorite rituals. It's a ritual throughout HubSpot now. I started it maybe 2 years ago, and it's a thing we do as a company. So this is structured and customized to how I work. And that's the difference between traditional software and AI. Traditional software forces you all to work in the way that everyone else works. AI can customize and work the way that you want to work. So what is a bullpen? You can see here, I ran today, and there's a bullpen ready. So bullpen is basically forcing people to have opinions. And that sounds like really simplistic, but in tech companies, I think it's an epidemic. You go into a memo, and all of the questions or all the comments are, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Do you really believe this? No one will actually share their opinions because they are afraid to offend people or even get into real debates, and I hate that. And so a bullpen forces you to actually make a decision. And so what a bullpen does is it looks for all of the core blockers across all of these groups. And when it finds a blocker, it will create a first draft of what we call as a bullpen doc. And a bullpen doc has 3 options, 3 ways that you can solve this problem. And you as the DRI have to recommend what is the best option and give a reason why. You have to have an opinion. And you can do this manually. You don't need AI. It's just AI. I've automated with AI. And so it will create the first draft of the bullpen. and anytime it finds a problem, we'll create a first draft of a Bullpen. It will notify the DRI and say, hey, you need to actually fill this out and complete it, but I've created a first draft. And then we run a Bullpen meeting, and that Bullpen meeting, we debate the merits of each option, and we make a decision there and then, because we are trying to build momentum. We are trying to move really fast. Ingest allows me to re-enrich the system, so I have that staging folder raw. I drop everything in there, whatever I'm getting throughout the day or throughout the week, and then it will also has access to my entirety of my comms. It has all of my Slack, email, all of my Google Docs, Google Comments, all of these different things. And when I run it, it has routing set up to know what to extrapolate from all of that and to re-enrich that vault. It looks for open decisions, it looks for experiments, it looks for blockers, it looks for performance narrative, what's doing well, what's not performing well. And it's a way, again, it's hard to explain until you run it, but I capture everything. My note-taker app goes to meetings that I'm not in, right? I can go to every meeting that happens in HubSpot if I want, because I don't actually have to be there. My note-taker app captures a transcript, and then the ingest enriches my vault with whatever happened that's relevant to me in that meeting. It's incredible the amount of context and intelligence you can now work from. Now, Claude does forget everything between sessions. When you start one session, you end it, and you start another session, you kind of have to start from scratch. So I built scripts to make sure that that does not happen. When I start a new session, a script auto-runs, and it will load my claude.md file, which is how I want to work. It will load all of the project index from the vault to make sure it knows exactly the state of every go-to-market project happening across HubSpot. And it loads the last 3 daily logs. And I'm going to tell you how I capture those daily logs, because I'm going to jump to session end. And so when I end a session in Claude, I hit shutdown. And shutdown will say, what did you even do today? Because I'm working within this system. And it will create a daily log of everything I've done. What did I get done? What new things came up? What new blockers were there? What new solutions were there? And it creates a daily log, and it gets passed back to the next session once I start that up. And then the middle thing is, Claude are actually trying to solve this. So when you're talking to Claude or Codex, you will at some point run out of context, and it compresses the context. You've probably seen that happen, and you lose all of that information. This script will actually hook into that and pull out all of the context that's applicable to you and put it into your vault, so you don't lose anything during a session, right? If you have a session going on for days, it's going to compress the context, and you lose that context, and this script will interject and take that and apply it to your vaults. You never lose an ounce of intelligence. So I wanted to show you one of my favorite use cases, just because I think it tells you how there's a different way of working when your system has this intelligence and data. You're not just asking, what is this, what is that? You can actually use it as a strategic partner. So Amazon have this ritual where they create a memo, and the memo is how did this product succeed, and all of the different ways that it would succeed. Now, I'm Irish, so I like to do the opposite, right? I'm a pessimist. What are all the ways that this could fail? And so one of the examples is I could tell it to write me a press release. I have an outcome for the AISDR. It's a pretty huge outcome, actually. And so I think it's going to be pretty hard to reach, but hopefully we'll get there. And so I ask it to write a press release, and they tell me, why did we fail, right? And I actually did this 2 days ago. Why did we fail? And it created a memo with all of the gotchas, and some of them are to do with cross-team friction. Teams who were writing things in docs about how they can't work with each other, and I could never gather that information on my own. And so the level of things that you can dedicate your time to, or the value of the things you can dedicate your time to, are just fundamentally different, And James Clear said this in Atomic Habits: you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. I think we sometimes underappreciate operating models and systems and how they make us much, much better in terms of how we work. So what is the big picture here, right? I presented a personal operating model. I know for some it might seem, well, that's a lot. Again, I really think if you just take the slides, tell Claude, give me a first draft of how you would build this, and then customize to your needs, it would create a pretty good system. But really all I've done is showed you a pretty simplistic operating model, right? I have an intelligence vault that captures all of the context, data, and intelligence. That intelligent vault is being fed by MCP access, all of the tools, data systems, comms channels. Then I've built custom skills, and that custom skills is leveraging information within the vault to do things for me. My today command, my bullpen command, all of these different things are just custom skills that have scripts that can do things for me. Then I have agents and I have assistants that are using that intelligence to build artifacts. And those artifacts are being re-enriched back into the intelligence vault. That, to me, is the future of how teams will work. Once you see it, you really cannot unsee it. This is how our go-to-market teams are going to work within HubSpot. They will each have an intelligence vault. Everyone who works within that go-to-market team, whether it's sales, marketing, customer success, support, all of their work will get re-enriched into that vault. They will have their own custom MCP access layer. They will have custom skills built for them, evaluated for them to make sure they're using the best things. And then they will have a governed and observable artifact layer to make sure we can see the things that they're creating and make sure they are leading to like really great outcomes. And that, to me, is the future operating model for how go-to-market teams will work and restructure what they do around AI. And AI without a system is chaos faster. I see it everywhere. We are in the messy middle of AI, where AI is being democratized within companies, and I actually think 80% of companies are worse off because of AI, because AI is being democratized and making people less productive than more productive, and that's because we don't spend the time to actually build real systems around AI to work in a very differentiated way. So that is me. I write about this stuff in Substack. You can read it if you want, and I appreciate you all being here for my talk, and I really thank Clay for asking me. Awesome company, and great to see them put on their very first event in Europe, so thank you very much.